All right, welcome to the Sample Podcast. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, and I'm very excited for this episode. The Sample Podcast has changed many times, and now I'm looking forward to where I'm trying to take it. But today's guest, our next guest, has gained notoriety in the OG era of YouTube, with his crazy college party videos amassing hundreds of thousands of views and followers before switching to a business lifestyle which has seen him create, build, and partner with multiple companies, one in which I use every single day. My guest today is none other than Mr. Arlin Moore. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm glad that I can call you one of my best friends in the world because we have had a bit of a history from you coming to Australia for us meeting. I love the story. Before we get into it, give my audience may not know who you are. Give us a kind of a brief summary about who you are, what you do, and everything. Kind of a short little sample of yourself.
Sure. My name's Arlin. I'm an Uber Eats driver, 5-star rating. Actually, I stole that joke from my friend Alan, who I recently met in Italy. We'll go into that. That was a wild trip. But no, my name's Arlin. I am 24 years old, going on 25 in about a month.
Happy birthday.
I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, currently living in Boston, and I run a company called Maxi, which helps people to take control over their own mind. And that's my main focus right now. But in the past, as Sam mentioned earlier, I built a YouTube channel. In college, I went to Boston University, had been documenting, what life was like in college, showing everything. I didn't have any sort of filter. Some of my friends were slightly worried that it wouldn't be able to get jobs because of my YouTube channel and, the growth that it got. So I just, I still make videos, but less frequently. At the time, I was doing every single day, and that's how I built my following. Now I'm doing, maybe twice a month or so as I really narrow in and focus on growing my business, Maxie. But yeah, Sam and I, we met in Australia. I'm sure we'll get into that origin story. And Sam is just the best. He's like one of the best friends that, I've ever had. So I'm just happy to be here. And
that origin story is fucking hilarious. That is definitely a good one. I will get that. But yeah. Before that, so let's take it back. So you're in Boston and you're a kid. You're what? How old are you? Like 18, 19 at this stage?
Yep. Around 18 when yeah.
Decided to just like do YouTube full time? Is that what you did? Like, what was that? Like, I'm gonna go do YouTube. I'm gonna go put myself out there. What was like kind of like the catalyst there?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I'm actually pretty brushed up on a lot of like stories. So it's good that I'm doing a podcast because I just went back and kind of like for fun, just put out an NFT collection where I basically put out screenshots of my favorite moments of the last 5 years from my YouTube videos. And so like each screenshot comes with a story, a narrative. So actually the origin story of my YouTube channel was that my favorite, one of the movies that had the biggest impacts on me of all time was The Social Network. The movie about Mark Zuckerberg, the Winklevoss twins, and the creation of Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I watched that movie in my freshman dorm room with my roommate and one of my best friends, Jackson. And this was pre-vlog, by the way, so obviously. And we watched this movie, and I come away from that movie like, holy shit, like I need to build the next big college app. Like I need to, learn how to program. And we spent the next like week trying to teach ourselves Python. Like I remember very vividly, like sitting in my like double dorm room. There's like 2 people in a dorm room, and like we had everyone in there, and I was like amping everyone up on like learning code and stuff, and that lasted like a week. And then my roommate and my friend were like, "Nah, I'm done. Like I'm gonna not do this." But I kept going, and I had this entrepreneurial bug. I spent the next like 10 months found a CTO, found like a co-founder who was good on like the numbers side. And like we crafted this whole business plan, and even the developer like built this whole real working MVP, not NFT, MVP. And the idea was that it would facilitate college parties.
Okay.
So it basically it was basically because at the time like I was running around, I was like super into social dynamics. Like I was very, we could go into that whole phase too, I'm sure. But I would we had this game where you would have to point to someone. If you're with your friends, you point to someone, you say go. And if it was an attractive girl or whatever, if you hesitated, you had to do 10 push-ups on the spot. So you had to just
accountability go. Right there.
Yeah. So anyway, I knew a lot of girls. I was the freshman that was in charge of organizing, getting all the freshman girls to show up to the to our to parties. It's just how college works. It's just like that. And I was using Facebook groups. I was like, this is not effective. So I instead was like, let me just build an app that makes this easier. There were all these features I had envisioned, and I honestly think it would have worked.
So what year was this? 2014, 2013, 2015?
No. This was 2015 into 2016. Okay.
So just social media was kind of still baby, kind of there. Yeah, I understand that. I can see how it could work.
Yeah, I mean, social media, there was Instagram was a thing, but it was so different. It was only pictures. Facebook was people were still using
filters.
Facebook.
Remember those old filters? That's all you got.
Yeah, the old filters, exactly.
No editing, no influencers back then.
Well, that was the era too of the Kriya Tylers of the world, where that was the era where when I was a freshman, I so badly wanted to be an influencer. An influencer back then was if you just lived in the Hollywood Hills and you took one picture of the hills and posted that, and it got 500 likes or something, you are an influencer, So, and I'm on the East Coast in Boston, Massachusetts, it's snowing out, trying to figure this out. Anyway, so I definitely been throughout my freshman year looking at these influencer videos and pictures. Justin Escalona was definitely a big influence on me.
Big, yeah.
And he's another college YouTuber at the time. We got this MVP of this app. I made a promo video for it.
Yep.
And I launched the promo video, and then the promo video was kind of good. It was because I was in film. Yeah, looking back at it was good. And I was also in film school, so I had this film talent. My dad's a photographer, my mom's a painter, so I have these artistic genes. And I was like, man, this promo video is much better than the app is going to be. And then I started getting asked, people, I think some people might have seen that video, and the girls in the sororities at BU asked me to do their sorority videos. Right. So then I did the Alpha Phi, there were 70 girls in the sorority. I was super hyped to go around with all these super pretty college girls, filming them and making. It sounds weird, but
so is that I made is that a trailer for the sororities or the kind of thing?
They take a lot of pride in making sure they have the best video, right? So they obviously wanted the best videographer, and I was really good at it. So I did that, and that was a lot of fun. And then I saw this kid, Justin, who was doing YouTube at USC, at Justin Escalona, and he was doing everyday videos, and he was, he would upload every single day. And then one day, he posted something and he was like, I'm doing a clothing brand.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so the next day he launched it. And then the next video was I made $1,000 in 1 hour. And I was like, $1,000 in 1 hour? Oh my God, that's crazy. And then a few weeks later, his next video is bought a BMW with my YouTube money. And I was like, wait a second. Why am I trying to build this app when I'm really good at making videos? I have all these friends. I had all the elements that I saw that he had.
Yep.
And I just wasn't applying my talent. So what I did was nothing. I didn't do anything for 6 months.
Right.
Because I was scared of criticism.
Yep. Just mulling over the idea of what it would be and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. So then I finally got the balls to do it, and I started posting, and a year later I had 80,000 subscribers.
Bang. Took off. That's lit. So you dedicated to what I remember you told me the 100-day challenge. So you made 100 videos in 100 days. and you just dedicated that. What was like the decision like that first day? Did you know you were going to complete it? Did you have that idea? You were like, yo, I'm not going to stop until I get to that number, like 100. Is that what happened?
Really, I'd gotten into at the end of my freshman year, I'd gotten really into, so like before YouTube, at the end of my freshman year of college, I'd gotten really into like really like NLP and goal setting and studying how the mind works in tandem with reality. And that kind of like leads to, what I do now for my business. But
For Maxi, yeah, for sure.
but yeah, so at that time, like I had written this goal card, and like I still to this day, I still use this method.
Yep. You
This
brought
like
me
goal
onto
card
it, I remember
method.
that.
Yeah. So it's basically like you write down one goal, and it's on like a little note card, and then you put it in your pocket, and you read it when you wake up. You read it multiple times during the day. You read it before bed, and every time you even touch it, it's like a signal into your brain that like you need to do this. Like, it's such a big goal. Like for me, I was like, I want to have 1 million subscribers by 2018, and it was like 2017.
Yep.
So that just, I think like my thoughts just became so intertwined with that idea. And then one day I just walked out of my house. I had been uploading like once or twice a week.
Yep.
And I just walked out of my house, and I was like, I just got this like inspiration, like this moment where I started filming myself, and I don't even know what I was like doing, but I was like, I'm going to upload every day for 100 days.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, as soon as I said it, I was like, I have to do this. And then I just did it.
That's crazy, because I remember like even watching them, and people can go back and see your first videos compared, as your progression on from like to the 10th video to the 20th video, and that like the art of momentum as you got on, you got so much better as it went on. And even in today, sure, you just learned the skills and everything like that, but because you did the momentum, I found like they just got better. You tweaked it better. You just got, more in tune with like your message, your target audience, who you were trying to do it, what resonated with you. So it's fascinating to see from vlog 1 to vlog like 30, then 40, then like 100. It's just like this whole progression, which is amazing. Kind of thing. Did you feel that? You felt how you kind of like during that whole journey you were getting better, and that's what like kind of like spurred you on a little bit.
Definitely. I mean, that was my mindset from day one, was like, I might not get famous, but at least I'll get better at making these videos, and I'll have worked on a skill.
And so
And that's often the advice because like a lot of people will come to me and be like, how do I grow a YouTube channel? And I'm like, well, one, I haven't really been focused on like growing a YouTube channel in a while. Because it really does get to a point where like enough people know who you are to where like you can market to people who already know who you are for whatever business you're trying to start. But anyway, the advice I give is like, don't worry about growing, like worry about working on a skill, whether it's like public speaking or like take this podcast, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we don't know if this is going to be the biggest podcast in the world. Like you might know that in your imagination, which is a thing, but like at the very least, you're going to get better at communicating. You're going to get better at listening. You're going to get better at
even just connecting with people, just because of like having that with like, bigger names and bigger people getting their ideas and stuff like that. That's generally what I was like. I was like, yo, what's the best way to connect with people in terms of like gain their knowledge? Well, just interview them and share the value with everyone else as well as myself. Half these podcasts are more for me, if anything.
Exactly.
I just want to like pick people's brains and stuff like that. Well, that's fascinating because like, it's like a big thing. I've been really, really into this idea of like people that have grown these like cult-like followings, like having a message and then people resonating with them. Like I've been really into my Playboy Cardi. I don't know if you've seen the Rolling Loud that I sent you, the Rolling Loud thing. And it was just crazy to see how he's created this kind of cult-like following. And I know that you did that too. And there was like specific things that you did. And that's where it's like you're making the videos, but there's also like a deeper level in which you're doing. And that was more the self-development side. Would you say that you were trying to better yourself and that was like being shown through the camera? Because you got the college party vlogs, but you were the one that kind of also had self-development in there. And no one really did that. Like your Justin Escalona's never really had that because you mixed the two. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because you did show your personality. You showed this other side to you, which was fascinating and people really resonated with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like looking at a cult-like following, I think like at the core and what unites almost everyone who has that is like it actually is going to sound weird, but like pain, like
Okay. Yeah. Bonding.
Well, an understanding that like I built that channel and why I built that channel was out of pain,
Yes,
because I had years and years of negative thinking patterns, insomnia, depression symptoms, like panic attacks. I was stuck in my head for years.
Right.
And that made me want to get a following so that I could spread these messages of how I healed myself. So, and more specifically, I basically like wanted to heal the younger version of myself. I wanted to be like a role model for myself that I didn't have when I was going through shit. So that was like, I was very like strategic with that. But I think you look at like Playboy Carti. I don't know his story. Maybe you do, but I'm sure he has been through some pain, and like that's where his inspiration for music comes from, right? And like music can heal people, So Justin, I mean, I'm friends with Justin now, but I don't know. I don't think he is quite as transparent, but I would imagine that he's been through some stuff as well, and like people really resonate with that. With like people can feel and really take in when you're speaking from your heart in whatever you're doing. And like my videos for sure were like straight from the heart. Like Playboy Carti, like, no matter what he's saying on the surface, like you could read the lyrics, whatever, but like when you hear it, like you definitely resonate on some level of like where that's coming from, which is like in his heart, out of like pain and healing.
Fully congruent, fully just like in alignment with him. That's a big thing that I tell a lot of my guys, and the thing it's just like that inner dialogue and like the inner person you are. You hear the term, just be yourself, you know what I mean? Which is fine, but ourselves have been so socially conditioned. But there's that other instinct, that gut feeling, that first brain I talk about. When there's like attractive girl or something, and you have your very first instinctual thought, you're like, oh, I want to go up and talk to her. But then you have that second thought that's like, oh no, what about this? What about this? What about this? Like fear. I always talk about like listening to that first brain, because it's actually going to guide you. When you get that fear too, your fear of doing something, like fear of the YouTube channel, I'm sure you probably aligned with like the fuck it, just like, oh fuck it, let's just do it. That, as you said, that inspiration, that first brain thinking, you're like, let's fucking do it. I like that. I like that about you, and especially because you transitioned. You went from YouTube and then now into the business world. It seemed like a huge growth within you since 2019. Massive growth. What kind of spurred that growth, would you say? Because I've seen you go from not lost, but like you're still doing the same thing, and now you've kind of re-engineered yourself. You've evolved. You've gone from like the Charmander to the Charizard now, in those crucial years. And I know a lot of my audience are from that 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. What were the things that you did over those time periods that you would say helped your success in terms of all your ventures that you've accomplished pretty much?
Yeah, I think it comes down to like a fundamental mindset. That, because like there's countless experiences I could go into like what transformed me specifically, but I think it's like the mindset is, and I realized this a while ago, that you are your happiest as a human being when you're creating, not when you're consuming.
Right,
so
okay, yeah.
When I really took that in, like I just was like, okay, so if there's like a chart, like if there's like a line in the middle, like the x-axis, and like you have 24 hours in a day represented by that line. And then like the top of that line is you're producing. The bottom is you're consuming, like TikTok, podcast, YouTube videos.
Yeah.
If you just have like more than 75% of your day focused on creating stuff, and like less, than the other part, consuming, then you will be successful. Like you'll learn your own lessons. You'll have relationships that don't work out that teach you a lot. You'll have failed ideas and like things that you try that don't work out. I mean, I've had so many failures. Like I've had so many, but at the core of that, all of that is just like every day I'm just creating stuff, and I'm just putting it out there. Because the act is not in like the success doesn't come in what happens after you create something. It's literally in like the process of creating. Like for example, like again, bringing it back to this podcast and now, like this is the success. Creating this, having this conversation is the success. So like if you could just do this all day long, then you would eventually like outwardly be successful. Like imagine
100%.
if you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to do like 3 podcasts a day because the success is in like actually doing the podcasts.
Yeah, aligning yourself. You have a great quote by Steve Aoki, which you always repeat over and over again. And I don't want to butcher it because you know it, which is something classic about doing
do what makes you happy, or find what makes you happy and stay there as long as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
So, and then it always changes. Your happiness is never fixed. I always think of like people like, well, if I get this, I get that. It's like, I'll be happy. And it's like, well, it's not a fixed thing. It's very lucid because your happiness could be in meditation. It could be challenging yourself. It could be, I know my happiness, back in the day, it was solely fixed on, improving my social skills and being able to attract different people in my life. That was where I was at my peak happiness. Like, I could do that as I've heard you in multiple other podcasts. Like I could do that for like 15 hours a day and not sleep, not eat, not do anything, and just all I was focused on was that, and that made me fulfilled. Now being 27, that would make me happy, yes, but it would be a little bit different, because you have different priorities, you have different things. But podcasting and stuff like that makes me happy, and so it's not lucid, you know what I mean? And that's what I think a lot of people do. They get the materialistic things, and they're happy at the beginning, and then it slowly wanes away. It becomes like it's a bit of a liability then, more than a happiness. I remember I had one of my students, he talked about in the Buddhist philosophy, it's like, within a lot of the things that we have, there's these tangible things that actually become liabilities. So you get like, you're super happy, you get the new iPhone, right? But then what's the first thing you do when you get the new iPhone?
Download Instagram.
Yeah, you buy a case and then you buy a screen protector, and then you've gone from like this ecstatic feeling of like, I've got the iPhone and there's unlimited possibilities. And then your next initial thought is, oh my God, I've got to protect it. What happens if I smash it? What this, that? So it's like within seconds of your happiness, you've gone straight to fear and anxiety and stuff like that within the same like Apple store, So like, it's so funny that, the happiness is so loose. I find it lucid, you know what I mean? It can go one way or another. It's never going to be stagnant. You're never always going to be happy doing the exact same thing over and over again because you change as a person and what drives you. So have you found that?
I mean, doing the same thing over and over can be the source of happiness. I mean, what do you mean same thing over and over?
So like, say like you're finding happiness in this one thing, right? So like when like if I was to relate to you as like your 100-day challenge, that's where you found the happiness, the source in making it, building your empire. And now that you're 24, your happiness is in different things, it changes. It's not as if it's like, if you still did the videos, you would still find the same happiness, but it changes. So your direction in life changes your happiness in terms of things. So now like creating your NFTs or creating your business, you're finding joy and happiness in that. It doesn't mean you don't find it, but it does. It's got its own compass almost through your intuition and what you find interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that is a question that, I mean, I would imagine a lot of people grapple with. I certainly still do. I mean, I haven't figured everything out. I'm 24.
Yeah.
Like I think about that all the time. Like. Someone that comes to mind is actually Seth Godin when you talk about doing the same thing every day, because like he talks a lot about like Stephen Pressfield's book War of Art, and like a lot of his writing on like just like getting past resistance is about just sitting down and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, he's been writing a blog post every day for like 20 years.
Right.
He's done the same thing every day. And like, I think that's something that has definitely led to some level of success for me. It definitely is like when I would wake up and be like in the 100-day challenge, especially like, oh my God, I have to do another video. Like there were definitely days where I didn't want to do it.
Yep.
But I still did it. And that was because I knew that it was like once you get over the initial hump and you get in, like it's almost like the fear, or what is it? Fear is always like your fear is always greater in your imagination. Pain is always, you know what the quote is? It's
Oh, I've heard you've said it before. I think I've heard you say it before.
It's a Stoic quote, like Ryan Holiday or Tim Ferriss thing. Like,
Yep.
we suffer more in imagination than in reality, right? So like we're like, oh, I got to do another video, or like I got to write another blog.
Yeah,
like
I gotta go to the gym, or totally.
Yeah, I got to go to the gym. But then you actually get there and you like it. So like that's definitely what I've found is like,
Okay, interesting.
so yeah, I don't know, but you are right too. Like things do change, and like what you're meant to be doing. Like ultimately, I really think what the answer is, and like I find myself using this question a lot to like direct my own action, is like you can write it down on a piece of paper, be like, what is the thing you're putting off the most that you know you should be doing?
Yes, 100%. Where that fear,
what have you been putting off for so long that you know you have to do it?
Yeah, and you know in the back of the head you should be doing it.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
100%. Which is so interesting because, if you take both situations, you got to follow your natural gut instinct and where the happiness lies. But then even when you're doing, like, say, the 100-day challenge, or even when I was building my social skills, there was some times where I couldn't align myself with just feeling happy, because what was feeling happy was like comfort, right? And I know that I feel happy after I push through the comfort. So I have to kind of detach from like always feeling good, knowing that I have to push through this like resistance, this like negative emotions that I might create in my head. Kind of like the 100-day. I'm sure you got to day 30 and you're like, holy fuck, I got 70 days to go. Or you're building Maxi and you're like, fuck, this doesn't seem to be like going anywhere. I know with my business, sometimes it feels like that. I'm like, it's not going anywhere. But so I don't align with like what's happy for me, because what's happy for me would be like going partying, forgetting about work, And that's what feels happy to me. But it's just like, it's almost like a balance between the two. Sometimes you need to find that, what makes you happy, that childlike essence, and pursue that, but also doing the thing that is kind of like beneficial for you in the long run. So it's like short term versus long term all the time, like balancing those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have, I don't know if you had a follow-up question on this topic.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I had a thought. Actually, it's been forming in my mind. This is a new thought.
Oh, groundbreaking. Special.
Yeah. No, seriously. I just said seriously, and my Siri popped on. It did it again. Wow. So this has come to me and has been forming in my brain like literally in the recent 24 hours, and it's about. I've just been pondering, because, like being 100% transparent right now, I spent the last year living in Los Angeles, and like I loved it. I loved it because I could do my work. It was like Australia, it was like I could go outside anytime, in January, February, March, which is like winter there.
Yep.
And I could get sunlight, and then I could go on a hike in nature. Yeah. I could drive 2 hours up, like go surfing. Like I could walk 10 minutes down the beach and go surfing. Like, I mean, it was just, I could work out in the sun with my trainer out there. And I loved it. And right now I'm back in Boston, and I'm like, man, was this a mistake? Like, was moving back here a mistake?
Yep.
So, because for those of you that don't know anything about Boston, it is not like Los Angeles. It is fucking freezing. And it really sometimes feels like there's nothing to do. Right. And you feel like you're just stuck in this, your house, because it literally was a monsoon out the last week. Damn. And like you literally are like, there's like advisories like not to leave.
No vitamin D, no nothing, no sunlight.
It's tough. So I've been trying to like ponder like, I've been spending a lot of time with myself and looking at like why was I guided to be in Boston? Mm-hmm. Like why was I?
Yep.
And I have found myself spending like a lot more time alone. I have a roommate here, but I have been spending a lot of time alone during the workday, because both of us are like super involved in our businesses.
Yeah.
And I just had this thought, and it's that it's on relationships. Mm-hmm. And I've just been thinking about like, because the tendency is for people to have a lot of friends when they're younger.
Yep.
And then as they grow older, they have one life partner.
Yep.
And the thought that I had, the new thought, is that that is not because people are so in love with their partner. That's not the reason they spend all their time with them. The reason they spend all their time with their partner is actually because they are more in love with themselves.
Okay.
And what that means is they're so in love with themselves that they would rather spend most of their day going on walks, meditating, hanging out in the sun, going on a hike in nature, like working out, working on their business, going to the grocery store, getting like good, healthy food, spending time with themselves. And they're so fulfilled in themselves doing their own thing that is their true fulfillment, is hanging out with themselves, that they only have a couple hours in the day for someone else. And that's their partner. That comes second.
Like a true interdependent relationship where
Like,
they're their own person.
Really though, not like, oh, I had to love myself before I could love her.
Yeah.
But like actually, like your day is literally like, I just thought about it. It's like, I was like, damn, like I've never really done this before where like I'm spending a lot of time with myself, but I'm actually really pretty genuinely happy. Like, and like, you know, I've been very happy for a long time, but I've also had a lot of friends for a long time. So it does make me question, like, have I really, really been like fully fulfilled with nobody else around?
Right. Just like complete solitude. Yeah. Complete isolation. Because that's a scary thing, because we always kind of hamper that time with like phone or distraction or distraction or distraction. And it's just automatic response by now, you know, because the phone's been out for so long, it's automatic. It's like I remember there was, you know, just going in the elevator. I know there's no reception in the elevator, yet I'll still check my phone. And I'm like, my phone doesn't work at all, but it's just that response, you know?
Right.
It's like you're scared to be by yourself. It's like, are you like, I guess people are like, they either one, don't like themselves enough to want to spend time, or two, they just are conditioned not to think of themselves in that way, you know? Which is interesting, because it's breaking out of social conditioning completely. Because you're like, it's like you've got to find a wife, you've got to have multiple friends and this and that. That's the complete opposite of what, you know, you're doing, which is like finding enjoyment in solitude by yourself, or finding yourself. Do you think LA got that out of you? Do you think like you lost yourself in LA?
Yes and no. But I mean, in LA, like for example, I started off by saying, why did I choose Boston? Like, why did the universe carry me here rather than LA? And it's like, because I know as soon as I'm in LA, my social circle there is just like popping. Like there's always something to do with cool people. And, you know, so it's like, maybe like Boston, because I am spending more time alone. And that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
It's funny, from the offset, like some of your best friends are from Boston, or from that side of America. You know, the deep connections. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know of your deep connections in LA that were born and bred in LA. You know? Like, that are just homies. Like, all of the, you know, from the offset, I always see your homies being from Boston or Michigan or New York or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they are all here to that point, but they are all, like I said, even my roommate, like we only spend like really like probably an hour, maybe 2 hours a day together, and we like live across, you know, there's like a living room, then he's over there, but
yeah, exactly.
Like we're both so involved in our projects and really in ourselves that like there isn't that. And then like even, you know, my other friends, or even like, you know, Maggie, Emma, like they have their own things that they're very involved in. So while they are like my deepest connections, they're also like, it's interestingly like most deeply into themselves. Whereas in LA, like it's not like it's not like that in LA, but I actually do think that, you know, there's I don't know, there's just always stuff going on, and there's just so many people that have things going on every night. Yeah. You know?
So there's always something to do, always a distraction, always something going on. But is that because like you did that immersive period? You were in LA, you were in the social circle, you were talking to everyone, you were meeting new people, and then you found that you were so like in that immersion period, which I get a lot of my guys to do, and then now it's a different immersion period where you're refocusing back on yourself and your business.
I'm sure that like a lot of the guys listening, like maybe it might have been interesting to hear that perspective, but they probably want the juicy stuff from LA.
Yeah, they always want the stories and stuff.
What I'm doing now.
Well, LA does have its juiciness in everything, everywhere you go. You know what I mean? I connected with some guy and I remembered like I'd met him in the house that I was living. I was like, holy crap, this guy's like huge now, huge influencer, huge shout out to I Am Joel Brown. You know, big time. And I remember meeting him and I was just like, holy shit, you meet people you just don't even know. You're meeting so many different people all of the time. And that's why I say, like, if people are in that small town, sure, you can build your social circle in your small town. Sure, you can be that, you know, you have that reputation, but the big town is where it's at. It's just like, imagine having 10 people or 10 million people, you know? It's just like, sure, you can know all 10 people, but, you know, you'd meet 10 people in a fucking day in LA, you know? So those like big towns and stuff like that. But it's interesting to see your perspective. You know, there is going to be immersive periods in your life where you're fully engaged in one thing and then fully not, but not to judge yourself for that. You know, sort of the wanting. I know one big thing with me, Gold Coast. I loved Gold Coast. And I was like, no, I hate it. I got to move, got to get out. I go to Brisbane and I'm just like, man, I miss LA. I miss fucking Gold Coast, you know? Like the people are different. Like I'm focusing on my business. My business is growing, but I'm just like, man, but Gold Coast is fun though. So, you know, you have those two periods.
Yeah.
We can go back
I have the similar, I definitely have a
LA
similar feeling about LA. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So tell us, so after you've done the college, you've done that, you've come, this is in your last year, you come to Australia and that's where we meet in Australia, me and you. We meet in Australia. But one of the fun things that I saw you do was build a whole social circle that is still connected to this day in a place that you are now currently not even in anymore, which is the YouTubers of Australia. You came in and fucking put a bomb and just got to know everybody. So tell us what was the mindset behind that? Because now to this day, even like last week, Ben and the Mesha twins and all of that were still hanging out. And I'm just like, wow, Arlin was the one that like connected this shit together, and he's not even in here. This is years later. So tell us how you did that. Tell us how you became the connector, because you've done that in university, you've done that, you know, outside of it. Now you're doing it in LA and stuff. So where was the origin of you becoming a connector, and how did you learn, and what were the processes that you kind of implement in your daily life?
Yeah, shout out Ben Garens, shout out Mesha twins. Shout out Alex Hayes. I talked to Alex Hayes the other day on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Ella Victoria. Yeah. Lily Bowman. Yeah, that whole crowd. Everyone in Australia is lit. Yeah. So I was studying abroad in Australia my senior year of college. Yep. And I was like, I'm going to go to Australia, because I wanted to go to Australia because I was like, well, after college, it's like very convenient to do Euro trip.
Yeah.
I still haven't done like an official Euro trip, but I thought I would do that like right after college.
Yeah.
Pandemic and all that kind of interfered, and some other things that maybe we'll go into at some point, but relationships and whatnot. But yeah, I got to Australia, 10,000 miles away from home, didn't know a single person, but like very confident in my ability to like build a social circle from scratch. And the first thing that I did was ask myself, where can I find a collective of people that I want to be friends with in one place? Instead of like going out on the street and like randomly approaching people, I was like, where can I find all the people I want to meet in one place? Now, keep in mind, I was growing my YouTube channel still, or like at this point, it was like full on, you know. Actually, that summer going into Australia was like one of the best summers for my YouTube channel. Like I was getting like 100K views a video. Like it was popping. And so I got to Australia and I was like, I got to keep this going. So what did I do? Well, I found out that VidCon Australia was happening the first week I was getting there.
Yeah, the YouTube.
And I was in Sydney in a study abroad program, and there was like classes and like orientations happening. I was like, fuck that. I'm going to Melbourne or Melbourne.
Yeah, just bounce. And
And so I went to Melbourne, no creator pass or anything. I actually slept over at one of my subscribers' houses in Australia. Like I was 21 at the time. I think his name's Aaron Matt. Shout out Aaron Matt. He was like 19, 20. He'd been watching my videos. He was like, yeah, like come stay at my house, mate. Like we'll go down there and like, you know, I'll like help you film and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So
boom, got that locked up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a filmer and we just like flew down to, there's like a lot of details. It just brings back good memories, but flew down to Melbourne from Sydney and showed up and was like, hey, like I don't have a pass, but like I'm from America and like I just heard about this. Can I have a pass? And they were like, I asked every single person I could find. Kept getting no's and kept getting no's. And then finally I went up to someone. It was like a last resort. And they had an American accent. They're like, oh, my God, you're from America. I'm like, yeah, I am. They're like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I don't know. Can you help me? And they were like, yeah, actually, I can give you, like, I don't have any more creator passes, but I can give you a backstage, like, executive pass. And that gave me more access to the creators. So I had, like, more access than, like, Liza Koshy.
Holy shit.
And, like, yeah. And so I got into VidCon and like there was this whole like Instagram room and like I met every big Australian YouTuber that was at least at VidCon and just like brought everyone together and was like, hey, like let's immediately started future projecting a trip to Bali. I was like, let's go to Bali sometime. Like Mesha Twins, you guys are dope. Like you guys should, I don't know, like you guys should come. Like Ben Garens, you're hilarious. Like you're going to be big. Yeah, like Ben at the time wasn't big on YouTube either.
No, it was not.
Like,
I don't think
he wasn't.
He'd had his old channels where he'd do these pranks, but he hadn't started his new channel.
Yeah, I mean, he was young too. Like he looked like, you know, he looked older than me. He was like a man at like 17 or whatever, however old he was. And, you know, and I was like, this kid's lit. So like, yeah, I orchestrated this trip to Bali. And it ended up just being me, Lily Bowman, Ella Victoria, and the Mesha Twins. Ben couldn't come for some reason, and Andy couldn't come. Yeah. Shout out to Andy, by the way, too.
Also,
Andy's dope. Yeah, so we went, and I think it was that. Those like it was just like big plays, right? Like find where you can find those people that you are going to find all in like a collective. Go right to that collective and then like future project another big thing.
Yeah, introduce yourself, future project, and then from there, because you guys had the commonality of YouTube. You know, you had the bond already there, so you guys are like, who wouldn't want to like befriend you? You're an American YouTuber, completely different, and you've already got your own value. You know what I mean? You're not just sucking or leeching from their value. That's kind of cool. And how'd you like, so you saw them there and you just introduced yourself. You just went up, yo, what up, guys? Blah, blah, blah. You look cool. My name's Arlin, blah, blah. You just kind of introduced yourself like that to them?
Yeah. I mean, I probably filmed it. Like,
yeah, there is.
I mean,
there's videos, vlogs. I remember. Yeah, there's some videos about it.
It's just like, it's pretty easy when you're in a high status location, like the Instagram room at VidCon where everyone has, you know, at least like 100,000 followers. You just go up and introduce yourself because it's like everyone knows that you're already cool. So you don't have to like act cool because you have built-in status. It's That's like so sliding into someone's Instagram when you have a verified check mark or like a 5-letter username.
I was on
my own name.
You got your username. Just Arlin, 1 letter, 5 letters. How fucking good. That's fucking dope. So anyone wants to follow that, ARLIN. There you go. Fucking there. That's all it is. You know, he can even spell it out. I was on Glenn Ackerman podcast, so the energy coach, and he was saying that last year or something like that, he was in the Grammys after party or like the green room. And because no one knew who he was in this super high status environment that like people like Matthew McConaughey were literally coming up to him and introducing themselves because they didn't know who the fuck Glenn was. Right. And when you're in those high status environments, people don't want to risk offending you because they don't know who you are. Because everyone in there, they think like, oh, it's like fucking famous or it's got something cool going on. Or is that upper tier echelon kind of person. You know what I mean? Unfortunately,
Exactly.
saying that there is classes, there is tiers to this shit. You know, people don't want to hear that, but there are. It's like there's a difference between me and Matthew McConaughey. That's very fucking simple. You know what I mean? He's put out more value into the world, and people appreciate his stuff than I have, and that's okay to say that. You know, that's not a terrible thing, because you can always keep adding value to the world to keep increasing your status. But yeah, it's so funny that you're in there, and I guess they were just super friendly because everyone there was of that status or that high valueness. So it was like, of course they were going to get connect with you, and because you're so gregarious and just talkative and just open, they were just like, boom, you know. And then you were the kind of the maverick that glued them together. But one of the things that you're very good is like seeding, like future projecting, and then actually making shit happen, which I see you do. You make shit happen. It doesn't matter whether it's an after party, it doesn't matter whether it's this or that. You have this knack of just making shit happen. So is there a step-by-step guide you do? Because you're very proactive. I don't see you being super reactive to people. You're just making shit happen as you go. You know what I mean? Whether that's in the moment, whether that's real-time life. Is there a process that you do? Because I know a lot of the listeners can.
It is sort of like spiritual in a weird way. But it's like a lot of it is like, because you have to spend money to make shit happen, right? Like to go to Bali, you have flights, you have a villa. You know, Bali's like not the most expensive place, obviously, but like,
Sure,
you know, you have to.
But getting there is.
Getting there, and like, you know, paying for cool shit, and like you go to a club, like, so. And you have a driver, you know, there's just a lot of things. So you know, when you're making shit, like this week, next week, actually, I just had this, like, I find myself in these situations pretty often. Cause like, I feel like, so it gets spiritual. Cause like, I feel called to do something. Okay. Like, I feel like I need, like, you know, Maggie and Emma just invited me to Laguna Beach, at this like villa thing, not a villa, or just like house thing. And then after that, I was like, well, I want to spend like a week or so in Venice Beach, work out with my trainer out there, just like hang out with the Venice Beach crew.
Yep.
And like, you know, that's not cheap, right? And so like a lot of these things that you're saying, like, oh, Arlin makes these things happen. Like, I have to obviously pay for them, right?
Yeah,
but
correct.
I have this, and as an entrepreneur, where like ever since I was 18, you know, I've worked for myself. Yep. Really, and I've made my own money. I've just had the experience that whenever I feel called to do something, even if it's expensive, I know that I will find the money to make it happen. Or I know it will be far more profitable than the cost of the trip. Like in December this past year, I felt called to go to Hawaii. I was like, I just need to go to Hawaii. I just need to do this. And like at that time, my business was like doing very well, and I actually made money off that trip. Like I made like 20 grand that week.
And the videos to come too, for sure.
And the videos to come, the content after that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's one part of it, is just like trusting yourself that like if you have the urge to do something and you feel like it's really coming from your heart, like you feel like if I do this, you feel like if I do this, it will pay off. Like you think it will. It always does. It always does. Like your heart never leads you astray. And even if it does, then you fall on your face and you learn a lesson, and that lesson will help you in the future.
Well, they say one of the biggest things with money, it allows you to be more in touch with that spiritual side of yourself. That's one of the greatest things that you can do, because again, hampering you wouldn't be able to go back to nature in that Hawaii scene and be able to experience that whole week and what it was like. I remember you coming back and telling me about it, you know what I mean? And that's like, fuck, that's some cool shit, you know what I mean? Money is the kind of facilitator to allow you to do those cool, dope experiences. I see a lot of guys.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Oh, true. 100%, yeah.
Like those experiences are what allow you to make money. Like going to Hawaii and like literally like cleansing yourself spiritually gives you the open mind and the decision-making ability to have the next like big idea, or like be inspired to create content.
Deep so it's in like your connection with yourself. Like,
this like feedback loop. Yeah.
100%. Because one of the things I know I talk about with my guys is like in the 7 pillars of status, one of them is financial freedom. You know, one of the specific things that is very, very good for a guy, especially, or anyone, even a girl, is like literally handling that finance side is imperative because, and people can say it's money hungry and this and that, but it allows you so many more opportunities. As you said, you made shit happen, but you're able to facilitate the money that you have to be able to make cool shit happen, to build that social circle, to be able to do the things that you want to do. And so I see a lot of guys as like, you were still doing that before. It doesn't mean it didn't, it hasn't changed. You know what I mean? But the finances allow you, or the access to be able to still do the things and make money off them, allow you to want to be doing them more and more and more. That's the cool thing. Before, for me, it was like I would do the things and I wouldn't get any money from them. Now you do the things and you're actually seeing active kind of revenue come in from doing the activity, go out and film. And then for me, it's like you actually see the tangible assets from doing that, So it's as you said, it's a loop. It's a self-generating thing, and you want to go do those things too. And that's the biggest thing. On to the next thing. It's just like, I love the way that we met. It's hilarious in terms of...
we keep slowly telling the story, but we'll get through eventually.
So yeah, one of the biggest things was I loved it because it was just like, so first of all, for anyone not knowing, I used to watch Arlin on YouTube. So that's where I found Arlin. So I was watching the college vlogs, and I wasn't into the college. I wasn't looking at going to college. I just found the lit content. You know what I mean?
I'm just getting comfy.
Yeah, you're fine. So I guess because, I'd come from the RSD background, I'd done that, I'd gone into the relationship, and now I was still just branching out and viewing different things here and there. And after that, I found your content, and I was like, yo, this kid's good. And then I saw he was coming to Australia. I was like, yo, this is epic. You know what I mean? I was up in Brisbane. I was up in the exact same place I am now. I just finished a golf tournament, and you're like, did you press level 4? Just like slowly. So basically, as I come there, I was like, yo. So I hit him up. I'm like, we actually went through our DMs the other day. Remember, we went through and we fucking found what I said. I was basically like, yo, if you need a videographer, I know how to do that, an editor. Let me know. And then, what are you up to this week? We should go out. You know what I mean? A lot of girls at this place. I think I was recommending the Sheaf, in Double Bay. And so as I've come in, I've just like, what, how do I DM this guy? I was in Gold Coast at the time. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to come in with mad value. I'm just going to, and this is before I knew of the kind of the system that I teach right now. But I was just like, I just always knew, anyone that is like higher status, or, if you want to go the status game in terms of numbers or anything like that, or accessibility, I knew that you had to come in with some sort of value. So I was like, yo, I'll hit him up. I'll offer my services. That's it. I'll offer any sort of help for free, So because I'd done the RSD internship for free for Owen, shout out Owen, I knew that free is a really good value offer. So as I did that, after learning Alex Hormozi's stuff, fast beats free, of course, always, but free is a really, really good thing. So I offered that, and then from there, it kind of hit, but I didn't know you always open your DMs, or you're very active in your DMs. So I didn't know that at the time. But yeah, kind of like we met up one day, and then we went to the Sheaf, and then, that's where the story gets very interesting. I loved your perspective about your vision board and everything that came to do with that.
I met Sam, and like, I'd been a big follower of, can I say the company name?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Forbidden 3 letters.
Yeah, you can say
RSD.
the company.
I loved the company. And I had this vision board actually of like a bunch of things and like that I wanted to manifest, but one of them was like I wanted to meet all these RSD instructors and like be friends with them because I thought they were so cool. And then like I met Sam, but I didn't know he was an instructor at the time. I had no idea. But we walk into the Golden Sheaf, and I immediately noticed that Sam just like every single like girl, every single like just immediately going up and introducing themselves and like getting good responses. And I was just like, what the hell? Like I'm like in my head right now. Like, hold on a second. Was
that your first time out out in Sydney?
It was definitely close. I mean, I had just gotten back, I think probably from VidCon, or it might have been even before that. But yeah, like I was just like, man, I mean, I don't know, like they were like, there's like a lot of pretty girls around. Like I'm American. Like I'm just like, man, this is kind of, and like you're just like, boom, right off the bat, like approach, and like getting good responses, like dancing with girls, like you know, guys think you're cool. I'm just like, man, this guy's a savage. Who is this guy? And I was like, dude, like, you have like really good social skills. And you were like, Sam was like, yeah, bro, like, do you not know like who I am? And I was like,
So for context, I knew Arlin watched RSD because he had a flag in his room back in college that said "Be at the cause," which is a major teaching in RSD. So I knew that. So you know, just for context, kind of thing.
yes, that's true. That was a big signal. Yeah. So I was like, dude, like, who are you? And he was like, I was an RSD instructor. And I was like, what? And then I pulled up my vision board and I look at my vision board, and sure enough, there's Sam in the picture.
Bottom left
I was like,
corner.
oh yeah. I was like, oh my God, I've been looking at this for like a year, and here you are, like you spawned. And you know, now we've been like best friends across the world since then.
It's the craziest story to think that you know, there's probably other instructors that you wanted to meet, but like theoretically still being on that vision board was like circulating, it was like
It was
generating.
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the best story I've heard of a vision board ever. Like, you know, hands down. I still repeat this
I
to the
got
day.
some more of those.
Yeah, tell us. Go down. What's some vision board stuff that you've done?
Oh
Because
well,
I want to tell you this, just quietly, but I was like, I'll put it on the podcast that I've started to create a vision board video, right? So I've created clips in which they invoke an emotional response by me, right? So there was one clip, you know, I literally put a clip in it today. The Playboy Cardi hugs Lil Uzi on stage, and it's been their 3-year like reunion, but it provokes this like best friend vibe and this energy, you know what I mean? And it really cuts me.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other clips. There's a clip of like, there's a guy that's friends with Logan Paul, and he Gustard, I think you know, he has this character called Colson or Colton or anything, but he basically was partying with Chantel Jeffries and Wolf Cindy and was like driving them around in like an R8 or something like that in Paris with the Louvre in the background. And that invokes like, holy shit, like being able to be friends with Chantel Jeffries and Wolf Cindy and just driving them around and, you know, being really cool with them, and a few other clips. But yeah, so I've always had, I was starting to make this like vision board video to watch every day.
I love that. Just to like poke in there, I saw a video that
Yeah.
reminds me of like it invoked an emotion in me. I want to like, I think I can show it. It's
Yeah,
Sam
if-
Damshek, the photographer.
If not, you can
My
always send it
Siri
to me.
thing went off again. This is crazy. But here, I'll see if I can play it. I just look at it and I just feel like I want to do that.
Yes, exactly, that emotion there. Okay. Yeah, that's lit. It's in a tropical island. A beautiful girl. She's caressing your head. Yeah, and yeah, 100%.
You know, you're just like, wow, that's a vibe.
Yes,
Like I don't
it
even
gives
know.
you
Like I don't have
something.
any tattoos. I don't smoke cigarettes. Like I don't know in what world like I would be tatted up and like smoking
those-
this, but I
you
just
get
want to
those-
do that.
Yeah, you get those like ones that last for like 2 weeks or some shit in a 3-week tap or some shit, just for the sake of it. But yeah, I love
Yeah.
that because what evokes emotion from you won't evoke emotion from me. What evokes emotion from me won't do to you. So everyone is going to be completely individual. But that's what I've always struggled with vision boards, because the photos never invoked enough emotion from me, right? But now this concept of videos, I'm like, wow. So I wake up in the morning and that's the very first thing I watch. It's literally 35 seconds long, but it just primes my brain. You know what I mean? And I think it would be a
I
cool
love
way.
that.
So what's some of the other things? Because you've definitely worked with, you know, you've done your cards, which you've had in your wallet. You've done vision boarding. What's some other crazy shit that you've done? Because I know it's like woo woo for other people, but like literally priming your brain and things that you want rather than what you don't want. It's so easy to watch shit about the you know, the C word, the blessed COVID word. You know what I mean? And all that shit that comes with it, which is priming your brain for something completely different. And this is what I want to get into, especially with Maxi and stuff like that. You know, priming your brain. You know, it's so easy to watch that shit, but like getting up in the morning, like what I've been doing is watching this video, stretching, and then doing some sort of meditation is like setting my day up to where I'm not even attracted to the stimulus of like, you know, fear and anxiety and all this kind of thing. I'd rather be doing things that are positive just by starting my day up, you know, just by watching this vision video and vision board. So what's some of the other crazy thing that you've done?
I mean, obviously, like, Maxi is kind of my manifesto in this sense.
Yeah.
So I've tried a lot, you know, like,
You've done a lot of...
Yeah, I've done a lot of weird stuff.
Shit that you probably can't even
I don't even know if I want to
it.
say it. Yeah. But I know I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. So I stopped watching porn a little while ago, but
Yep.
like it was even like when I would watch porn, it had to be POV.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's
because it was like
hack, bro.
Yeah.
Hack. Yes.
It was like, this will make me manifest sex.
Yes.
Right? Because you're like seeing it and visualizing, and instead of you visualizing you creeping like onto other people,
yeah, instead of cockholding
like,
yourself watching another guy fuck a girl, yeah, massive cockhold, by the way, you know.
Yeah, that was like definitely in my brain. But I think just porn in general is not healthy, and you should definitely direct your sexual energy toward yourself. You know, I started realizing that this is definitely another whole nother topic. Maybe we dive into after the visualization thing, or or we could just do a tangent. What do you want to do?
Oh, we could do multiple tangents, so let's just fucking run with it. Go for it.
Okay, let's just tangent. So I mean, I just had this like about like really jerking off and like porn. It's like, you know, your sperm really is your most precious thing. Like, it's literally has the power to create another human life form.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, what do guys do when they jerk off? They just like dump it down the drain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what message is that sending to your brain? That your most precious life force, you're just
thing. It's like
you're just sending your future children down the fucking pooper. It's shit, right?
100%.
Like, so I don't know, that's like pretty visceral to me, and that there's definitely been like more things like that in the relationship thing that've just kind of been, the more time you spend with yourself, the more you just realize like a lot of these like things that people do and like patterns that people have, you kind of really see through them and be like, man, like that just doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? And then, you know, you kind of experiment, and I don't know, like the no fap, like no porn is definitely up for debate. But
yeah, I've got multiple issues with it for sure. You know, especially in my perspective. There's two other things I'll go into. It's like what Gary Vee says, 400 million or 400 billion to one, I think it was the thing. It was just like the amount of sperm cells you have versus the one that you know created you. That's what you won, the genetic lottery. But the idea, say if it's like 400 billion, I don't know, I think it's 400 million, but say if it's billion, right? That's enough sperm in one ejaculation to impregnate every girl in the world, right? Just one load, you know what I mean? So it's so potent to think about that. Like, if you took one sperm cell and put it into every egg, you could infertilize like every single human, or at least 400 million. That's a lot of fucking people, you know what I mean? And so the wastefulness in which people just do it, you know what I mean? That is a life force, you know what I mean? Like, you feel it and you stop doing it, you feel energetic, you feel more clarity, you feel less urges. But my thing that I've actually talked to, there's a guy called NoFap King on TikTok, and we've talked about it, is where I get hate because I'm like, what a lot of people do, especially guys and stuff like that, and even girls too, don't get me wrong, it's still a sacred act for girls too, is that they start to suppress sexual desires and sexual urges. They start to depress that. They start to, you know, kind of like, you know, it's like if you have a negative thought, you know, you see some people like, oh, I can't have negative thoughts and stuff like that. It's like you're doing the counter opposite. You're literally suppressing any sexual urge, which is worse for you, which is like inhabiting your ability to even vocalize your sexuality, vocalize and be present with that sexuality. You're like, I don't want to feel those thoughts at all, you know, any sort of no, that's bad. So you're doing the same thing as well as ejaculating, putting down the toilet. Is like any sexual thought you're having is like, I shouldn't be having these things. So you're even repressing yourself worse and worse and worse. It's kind of like, I always relate it to like, if you've been in the Catholic Church or something like that, and they're always saying sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. You have this preconceived connotation on it already. You know what I mean? And so any sort of like sexual thought, I've talked to a few hardcore, Catholic people. It was like when they were brought up, it was like when they had a sexual thought, they thought it was a sin. They thought it was completely bad. And that's what's, paved their way into. They've had this weird association with like intercourse and being sexual within themselves and not accepting themselves. They felt like they could never accept that one part of themselves, and I've definitely struggled with this. I think this is one of the biggest things. It's like a lot of girls will say to me, they either get with me and they're like, there's this whole other side to you that you don't release. And it's one of my biggest things. Like I have kinks, I have fetishes, I'm very sexually open, but I don't seem to be open talking to people or showing that side until I'm very comfortable with them, which is totally fine. But, I could even be more in like accepting of my sexual essence, my sexuality, my sexual beingness, you know what I mean? And that's what I think a lot of the time with the NoFap is like you're teaching yourself not to accept that. Like that's bad, But I understand, because on the other spectrum, it's like for a lot of these guys, if you are not actively being able to attract people into your life, you shouldn't be masturbating, because you're literally killing your intent to even go do that. Your intent is like your whole fundamental being is like, I want to go reproduce. And by masturbating and you're not expressing that, for a girl, going after for a guy going after a girl, it's like that kicks into gear. That's what I found, especially with my whole RSD days. I never did it. I never masturbated because it was like I was always out on the prowl approaching people, and that energy from not masturbating was what's keeping me was driving me, That's what was keeping me going. So a lot of the time it's like these kids, I'm talking 18, 19, 20, they're fully into it, but they're supplicating going out and meeting new people and meeting new girls and attracting them with just, masturbating to like Mia Khalifa or anything like that, and that's their girl, you know what I mean? And because it's like rewarding the brain, it's like thinking they've done the right thing. Because back in caveman days, as you know, evolutionary psychology, it's like, if you would have to go out and go find a girl, find that mate, in order to release, so that's where the reward was, in going out and conquering and being, climbing the social hierarchy to get the girls, attention, to create the harem back in, 10 BC or 10,000 BC or something like that. But now it's like they can find the validation in quickness within 5 minutes on Pornhub, So there is that balance between the two, and that's where I'm trying to find, and that's where I think there is a little bit of more. There needs to be more. How would you say it? Guidedness or understanding around it. What's your take on that?
Oh, there's so much. It's such a deep topic. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's one way for a sign to fall mid podcast.
What episode number is this? 1?
6.
6. Okay. Well, that's good. Early on, that's great.
Yeah,
this is great. That's like a moment you clip, and then you look back on like 500 episodes in, when you have like the official studio and all that.
Yeah, the whole wall is like completely ruined, but it's all right. Yeah, we'll keep.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Jerking off?
Yeah, I think so. That's why maybe it wants us to change the topic.
Yeah.
No, but it's really interesting to see that there is a balance. I think girls, they struggle with understanding what that is for a guy, but there is also girls that I know that struggle with this also. There's a whole kind of thing about the acceptance of like sexuality in terms of just yourself. It's kind of like they think of the two dynamics as your personality, accepting yourself, being in solitary confinement like you are, not solitary confinement, but understanding yourself, and then there's also this essence of like your sexual nature as a human being.
Well, there's just like I'm just thinking about the idea between like the idea between suppressing your desire and doing it in a healthy way and transmuting it into something else.
Correct.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm literally sitting here. This is like right next to me. Is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and there's a whole chapter on sex transmutation. So, like you're as a guy, like you're gonna, in just living, like Here's another topic. I was talking to Casson about this today.
Yeah.
As just a guy, you're going to walk around this beautiful woman everywhere, depending where you
100%.
live, like, obviously in like time of year, but like you walk around really like any city or any town, there's going to be a girl that like catches your interest.
Yes.
And you're going to have thoughts. So it's like you're going to have, on one hand, you're going to have all of these desires just popping up left and right. How many of those is healthy to fulfill or not is like, I feel like there doesn't have to be an answer. It could just be like a feeling, like what you kind of intuitively catch is right for your body. But, but then there's also the idea of like Elliot Hulse is like, sex should only be reserved for what it was meant for, which is like creating a human.
Yeah, reproduction and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so thus like everything else, all your sexual desires, like they're there because like your biology says they should be there because like you need to reproduce, but they aren't actually useful for that. They should be transmuted into creating something, like directing that energy inwards, circulating the sexual energy throughout your body, and like using that energy for yourself, not like spewing it into some random girl or onto the toilet seat.
Yeah.
But so that brings me back to, I guess on this Elliot Hulse note, what I was talking to Casson about was we saw this. So I was walking down the aisle in a grocery store, and Casson was like getting some like salad or something, and like he sees this girl, and like I saw her out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't look at her. Yeah. And then like so Casson was like over here, I was here, and I was walking like this, and Casson was walking like down the aisle that way.
Yep.
And he could see me, and then this girl like walked past me, and I could tell she was looking at me, and I could tell she was hot, but I didn't look at her.
Right, at all. Yeah, okay.
And it's because I'm experimenting with this, like, because up until really like this past several weeks, I would just look at any girl. But then I had this thought implanted in my mind, probably like actually in when was it, like in Italy, maybe a little before Italy, that women really are like sirens, and like men, it's really like Odysseus. As a man, like if you have the power to like, if a girl's like looking at you and she's looking at you, you can just be like, nope, you don't get an ounce of my, like, you don't get to control me. Like, you don't get to control my attention. I will look at you if I want to, but like, I'm not going to just look at you. So I don't know. It's like pretty intense of a philosophy. It's like, just fucking look. But like at the same time, it's very, very fascinating to go on a walk, especially somewhere where there's like a lot of attractive girls. Yep. And to see if you can control your own attention and not look at them. Yes,
100%. I just had a conversation recently about this. You'll see a guy. It's like my understanding of it is if a girl catches my attention, I will automatically put her into like I have to go talk to her. That was my thing, right? But if that was every single girl, I wouldn't be able to do any errand of my day. Like, I would be like on the way to the post office, and it would take me 6 hours because it'd be another girl, another girl, another girl. So it's like I've limited that. I understand where you're coming from and what Elliot, I've limited that to just ones that I can pick and I can read instantly and know that she's a good fit in my life or not. But that's still an assumption because, the personalities might clash and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I've done that to where it's like, there might be like 6 in a week, but those 6, it's like full engagement for me. And they usually go really well because it's like I've chosen, not every girl's captured my attention. And I'm just like a little puppy dog going back and forth to every single girl. Does that make sense?
Yes. You're like intentional. Like I will approach these
super
6 girls. Yeah.
And it's like,
or whatever.
Okay. And that's to the point where it's like, a guy might saying, be like, look, I just want to approach a girl. I want to be able to do that. That comes to when you're at a level where it's like, I've been that person that was the puppy dog, like every single girl I wanted to, and they took up every single bit of my time, I've been through that phase. And as you get older, I think, I definitely gone to a period where you've gone to where it's just like, nope, not intentional. Like, okay, I'm going to give this one a bit of my time because as a guy, as a high value guy, I think that if you are increasing as I call it, 7 pillars of status, like there is so much of your attention that needs to be put on other things other than girls in order to level yourself up, which is your business, which is your spirituality, which is your finances, which is, all these kind of other things, as well as getting in touch with your fitness, as well as getting in touch with just, knowing and being the social maverick around people. And then girls is just another offset of that. So when you've got to the point where both of us are kind of like, we know what to do when we go talk to a girl, we know how to control our emotions and sort of shut them off and be able to, shut the anxiety or stuff like that and just go like fully commit to it and be happy and joyous while doing it. That's where I find that method works really, really well. What you're explaining, for me especially, but for a guy, that might not have done the approaches and the things with they're just looking at that going, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Okay, I'll go back to what I'm already doing, which is not talking to any girls.
I do want to definitely interject on that point. I don't think that listeners have any fucking clue.
Yeah.
How much self-development in particularly social dynamics and speaking and learning how to interact with women, both Sam and I have done.
Yeah, 100%.
So to what I'm saying right now, it sounds so corny to say it was advanced, but it fucking was. This is an advanced conversation. On social dynamics. We are so deep down the rabbit hole. We've done so much.
That's why I loved it, because I knew it was going to be hardcore advanced shit, and this one fucking gets me giddy. About it.
We're literally talking about how it's advanced to not talk to a girl.
Yeah, to be selective. God, some other guys are just yo, can you just tell me what to say when I go say hi? What's the next line? We're yo, so when I see this,
we're dude, just don't even talk to her. Just
the more high value they are, the more that they need to vie for our attention and this and that. Again, I love girls. It's I love the this is why I'm into it, because I love the art of male and female dynamics. I love that. It's my fucking bread and butter. I even have people this week tell me I was apprehensive about you. I didn't know, because you're so into this topic that it's just it freaks me out to know what your intentions are and stuff like that. And I'm I can't stop this obsession with the male and female dynamic and how we relate to each other, and how, evolutionary psychology and all these kind of other things, and, how I can help girls and how I can help guys and stuff like that. I try to help as many people as I can within this topic, because I'm looking at so many people nowadays, and you probably found this, it's so hard for them to connect, right? And it's I always think about, I see people and I label them. These people either had a prepaid, mobile plan when they were younger, where they would call up and, put money in so they could, escape anytime, or these people were locked in contract people. They're the only two people I see nowadays. It's ones that are petrified of, any sort of intimacy or any sort of connection or long-term building, and others that are just, that's all they can do. I don't see this middle between anymore, where people are just going with the flow, cool, calm, collected, and just see where things go. It's either I'm frightened to death of commitment, or that's all I go for. That's what I see some people nowadays, you know what I mean? About this. And as you said, so much self-development, so many books, there's literally a bookshelf with freaking 150 self-development books there that I've read most of them. I'm sure you have a bookshelf full of everything and everything in between. Just even Maxi and stuff like that. They're that's the powerful shit. That's leveled up my social skills for sure. Maxi has. Just the
Maxi
ability.
has.
Yeah, definitely. Just the ability of being in my Maxi thing, and if anyone doesn't know, Maxi is the program that Arlin has created, the company that he's created. And basically, what I put down is people that I want to connect with, the type of vibe I want to be. And it's so funny how fast it attracts, to my reality. Just the amount, I'll put people down there that I want to connect with, full names. And I'll even, because it's an audio dictation, it's if they get their names wrong, I manipulate the words so it gets it right. It couldn't say, Siri couldn't say Joe Rogan, so Rogan had to be ROIWJEN. That's how. So
I'll have to fix that.
So it said it correctly, but apart from that, it was just I've definitely enhanced a lot from it, and I know that there's a lot of testimonials and what's the biggest things? What's if you were to describe Maxi in 5 sentences for people, wondering about it, looking about it, interested in it.
Yeah. When I was in high school, I had, as I said before, really bad anxiety, negative thinking patterns. There was a period of like 3 years where every single thought in my brain was like negative. And my life was good externally.
Yeah.
I played sports. I was good at them. I had great grades. I'd gotten into a good college. I had a girlfriend, pretty awesome girlfriend at that. But like inside, I just never told anyone that my thoughts were just fucked up. So then I got interested in positive psychology and how the mind works and how thoughts interact with reality. And I started experimenting with some positive psychology. I read a couple books, and within 2 weeks of like studying this stuff, I fixed my negative thinking patterns.
Damn.
And I was like, wow, that was 3 years. And like, I just did a few switches, and like,
What
now
were
I'm
the
better.
books, if you don't mind us asking?
The biggest one was The Happiness Advantage.
Okay.
By Sean Achor, Achor. And Siri went off again. And I got to turn that off. And then so I read that book and like fixed myself pretty quickly. And then I was like, all right, well, what else can the mind do to change my life? Basically. Yeah. And I just started studying, those NLP techniques. Tony Robbins was like early on in there. Even Jason Capital's early like goal setting stuff. I studied obviously every single one of the RSD coaches talked a bit about mindset and goal setting. I bought all of their courses. Napoleon Hill, the countless books I read on the topic, Vadim Zealand, Reality Transurfing, Tufty, getting into like Bob Proctor's stuff even, and Sam Ovens has an incredible mindset section in his programs. And so I just like obsessed over it and tried different methods. And then basically just out of all that like self-study and sharing it also online on the internet and seeing feedback, I had always had this vision to create a tool that made everything just work for you so that you didn't have to like ever really worry about like all these different tactics, you just did something. And like, even if you never thought about like personal development, like it just worked. It was like a shortcut basically to life, like to getting exactly what you want out of life. So that's why I created Maxi, was to create this vehicle that gets people exactly where they want to go in the fastest possible time period. So what it does is it literally helps you program and control your own mind and thoughts in the most effective way in the direction of where you want to go.
It's what everyone needs nowadays, especially through what we've experienced. You know what I mean? They need that direction. They need that sense of clarity and that, commitment to something bigger than what they're viewing each and every day on CNN and Fox News and this and that. They need to work on themselves a little bit more. I think that's great, especially because I remember you creating and the trials and errors before Maxi, and you were always trying to build something. There was always something in coming. It's kind of like a crescendo to it. And I think through the things that you did, especially with the relationship and stuff like that, it built Maxi. Maxi was built on what you were able to kind of like sort of build yourself back up. And I always say that like one of the biggest things is like, you have to be your own cheerleader. No one else is going to do it for you. And again, as you said, you have to be the one to build yourself back up, because you start to rely on other people. It's like imagine if you built a car, but you also built it with someone else. You didn't really build the car. You had other people's help. It's like, again, you can have these mentors and stuff like that, but a lot of the time it's just like, as Jocko Willink says, it's like extreme ownership. Be your own cheerleader and be the one that's like building yourself up always is like my main message half the time within people, you know what I mean? Because that's what you and I both went through. Me and Arlin, for context, me and Arlin both went through breakups very close to each other and relationships, and so we were able to help each other. He was able to help me at the start of, we just started our friendship, and it's not something that I recommend people to do. It's just like lean on other friends that you don't have as much emotional investment in to help you. But it was great that you were able to help me, and I was able to return the favor, which is amazing. Be able to help.
How did I even help you?
Well, I think you would.
I had never been through that, like what you had gone through, and then like of course after your relationship ended, like 2 months later, I was almost in your exact situation.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
how did I possibly even figure out how to help you?
I think it was just like you were just there. That's it. You know what I mean? I think it was just your company and
Yeah, I just listened. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I sometimes when you go through a breakup, you've got that hole, and you just filled it in terms of just like friendship and just being there and just doing and filling my mind with like activity stuff, like shooting a video for you or doing this or doing that or keeping me like just pep talks here and there. I think that's where you're able to help me for sure. And just kind of because it's still like the first couple of months of any breakup are the hardest. Especially for guys. I think girls is a little bit different because you still get the validation. Guys get no validation straight away. They get nothing. You know what I mean? So girls, they can get that, but after time, they realize that the validation is not what they wanted. And so that's why after a bit of time, they still suffer with the breakup a lot more, where guys get that initial nothing, no one's there for them, no nothing, no girls are hitting them up or anything like that. So they suffer with a little bit more at the start. So I think it's like the opposite. It's like girls don't suffer and then they do suffer, and then guys suffer heaps and then don't suffer at the end. Kind of they rebuild themselves. So I think you were able to allow a pathway for me to build myself a little bit more, just pep my confidence a little bit, those kind of things. And then I try to do the same with you, except you're halfway across the world as much as I could. And that's the crazy thing. And I think a lot of the time, one question I got from my Q&A is like, how have we continued our friendship across the world? That's what came up. 4 people asked the same question. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, that's really, really interesting because it's like, I think it's very natural for us, but apparently we have a specific thing because a lot of people...
Metaverse.
The metaverse is because Zucks helps us. I actually have...
Dude,
yeah, go on.
We're already in the metaverse.
Yeah, no, this is it. This is the metaverse.
This is it. This is the metaverse. It's like people are worried about the metaverse and like, how it's going to change everything. And sure, people will get completely lost in it, but like, all that's going to change is like instead of doing it on Zoom and like speaking into a microphone is like I'll just have these glasses on and you'll have your glasses on and I'll like see you as a hologram in my room, which by the way, holograms already exist.
Yeah.
Like the technology is already here. I have it in my program. Like I could literally pop a video on my phone of a hologram I just added to my, business. Literally just like that's not me. That's a hologram.
Keep it there because I see your face in a second.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It looks so real in this quality of this podcast recording software, which is funny.
And then, boom. I love it.
Crazy. So anyway, like, yeah, it's just going to like,
be completely different. On another topic, I do have a podcaster coming up, Colin Yurkison. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin and metaverse shit too. So he's a good little fucking guy to know. But it's so interesting. Zuck's taking the credit for creating the metaverse. Very interesting move what Facebook just did, if you really understand it.
He's taking the credit? I mean, he's calling it meta.
Meta.
Right?
But, he's calling it meta, but he's trying to coattail on making the metaverse. But it was already here. Metaverse was actually created in a book called The Shadow something. I can't remember the title. And they used the term metaverse. It was
The Shallows?
Because Shallows, maybe, yeah, something like that. It was a fictional book, and it was about a cyberpunk era, a dystopian where the corporations ruled the world, right? And you went into the metaverse to escape it, right? But what happened was that the corporations and then the hierarchy system came into the metaverse, so it was just exactly the same as the real life version. So it's kind of interesting that he called it the metaverse, and in the book it's called the metaverse. It's the exact same thing they're trying to do right now. A couple of questions that I have for you, my friend, before we head off.
To answer that original question, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Like we just call each other in FaceTime and
pretty well. Yeah, that's what
send each other like TikToks and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's because we've had that long connection. Some of my ex-girlfriend was a long distance relationship, so I've been used to being able to be friends with people from across the world. FaceTime's a great one. Texting, not being super upset if they don't call for weeks on end and stuff like that. We both have our fucking busy lives. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. True. Okay, this is a question that I think that'd be really, really good for you. Knowing the things you know now, what have you done differently? What would have you have done differently when you started your journey?
In building a social circle,
Building a social circle, your YouTube, your business life, building yourself, building your status up, everything that you've been doing over the last like 6 to 7 years, knowing what you know now, what things would have you done? Say if you had an 18-year-old kid that was just starting kind of thing, and what were the guidance and the kind of the knowledge that you'd provide that person?
Yeah, I wish I knew, really just, I guess, the basics of persuasion, like really like the Cialdini, persuasion things, like social proof and pre-selection, and how powerful those are. And if you can manufacture that, you can pretty much get, whatever you want. It's the Dan Bilzerian thing. It's at like whatever level you want it to be. Like if you want to be attractive to more women, then just make a lot of friends that are girls so that women are just always around you. If you want to, and also guys, right? Like guys obviously 100%. Want to be friends with high value guys, would love to know a guy who has a lot of female friends. But at the same time of that, it's like, it also gets back to this more like higher level thing that we were talking about earlier of like fucking work, just continuously work on yourself and like continuously, seriously fall in love with yourself.
Yes.
And to the point where you like really don't need other people. But that's what will make you more attractive is like when it's the quote, I know what I bring to the table, so I'm okay eating alone. Right? Like you're fine on your own. Yeah. Other people are just a bonus. Because you're not taking, and that's what makes you attractive.
You're not that leech. You're not that energy leech. You're not taking. Okay, I like that. I like that sort of idea from you. Being able to be someone like that is knowing what they bring to the table, know how they can give value, and then giving that value before taking.
Yeah, it's those two shortcuts combined. They're kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum, where one is like know how to be attractive without holding any value at all, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could literally just, like if you wanted to make any single person in the planet attractive, regardless of how much money they had, how much success they had, how happy they were internally, like they could be totally depressed and miserable and they don't take care of themselves. But if you put them in, like, let's say an Instagram photo where like every girl is looking at them, there's like a high status guy like trying to get their attention or whatever, you're going to be like, who is that guy? I need to know who that guy is. I need to be friends with them now.
Well, they did that experiment too, where they had, women rate the attractiveness of a guy depending on, whether he had girls lovingly looking at him or not. And it was like an increase of like, I think it was like 0.7 of a point on the scale of 0 to 10, how attractive he was. But just by like one thing, he's increased almost a point, using metrics. But it's always okay to use metrics, it's a guide to have a guide kind of thing. But that's crazy. Yeah, no, 100%. That's social proof one-on-one, with Influence by Robert Cialdini, if anyone wants to know that book. Okay, so that would be the number one. And then two, you've had a curiosity for entrepreneurship and building your own thing. Has that always been there? Did you cultivate that? Would you recommend that to other people?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, it's just like that question just does go back to like that question we talked about earlier, which I think is very valuable. And that's, if you really ask yourself, what is the one thing I'm putting off doing that I know I need to do? If that is be an entrepreneur, start a business, start a YouTube channel, start making more TikToks, like just follow that. Cause like the thing you're afraid of doing, the thing you need to do is what you should be doing, whether that's entrepreneurship or not, doesn't really matter. But, if it is, then definitely go do it for sure.
Go be doing that. Whether it's approaching that girl or learning to build your social circle, building your social skills. That's a big thing that everyone puts off. They know that they need to be doing that, but no one does that. They're like, oh, I'll be all right. I'm like, it can literally quadruple your revenue. It can increase your friends, your relationship with your parents, your family.
Your ability to love yourself too, which is a lot of what we've been talking about. Like, the fact that I know that I have all these options in the world, like I could literally live in any city that I want and build a social circle. And in many cities across the world, I already have a social circle.
Yes.
Like, knowing that I have that, I am much more comfortable, like, even I'm being on my own. Like, gives you the
100%.
confidence to do that. Like, Halloween just passed.
Yep.
I didn't do anything. I stayed home and I worked on my business and hung out with myself.
Yeah.
It's
you're
like
okay with
so
that.
antisocial, but I'm
Yeah.
okay with it because I had all these invites.
Yep.
Like, I was just like, I would rather spend time with myself.
And it also is invoking that idea. I think it's like the 30-second law, where it's like a bit of scarcity of when you're not always around. You know what I mean?
Right.
That creates that longingness. You know, so it even helps you a little bit. You know, but that's because you have
again,
been social. You know, you are.
I want to emphasize, like, that's not an excuse to not socialize, because if you don't have those things set up for you, then you probably should set those things up for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, urgently.
Yeah, someone like Dan, like say Dan Bilzerian, again, it would be like the cool thing not to do the Halloween party, you know what I mean? Because he is able to, he's got multiple events, he is able to do all these things, same as you know what I mean? Someone that doesn't have that, that's the goal, that's what you're striving for. That's the thing that you should be going for, you know, especially, you know, building that social circle. Again, that gives you, as you said, it gives you the comfortability to be like, I can live in LA, I can live in, you know, you've recently come back from Italy, which is cool. You built your thing over there. That was pretty fucking lit seeing that. All the Italy vlogs, I recommend everyone go check that out, because that was some fun. You went over there with like, what, 6 people that you never met in your entire life?
I met them in the metaverse. Those are some of my favorite, those are some of the best videos I've ever made. I love those videos. They are so entertaining, exciting, enlightening, and inspiring. That's how I would describe my own videos. Yes.
Going over there with 6 other people, which is like terrifying for some people, but you know, for you, because it's like you've developed these social skills, it is a thing that you're able to do. It is a thing that you're like, yo, this is easy. Like, okay, I know that I might be a little bit intimidated, a little bit scared, but it's like, fuck it, just go push through. And it was your best experiences, and you know that, you know, just on the edge of like the courageous things, like just on the edge of pushing your comfort zone, that's where the fucking magic is. Always. You know what I mean? And that's a crazy thing, because you learn so much about yourself, different things on that edge, you know? And that's why I talk about, like, people don't do this fear momentum. I talk about it, which you're very aware of it. It's like pushing that comfort barrier every day. The more and more you do it, the easier and easier it gets. So like doing the cold shower in the morning, doing the meditation. So things you don't want to do, you do those things, then approaching the girl 6 hours later is a lot easier, or building that social circle, organizing that event is a lot easier, because you've done the harder things, you've done the things that challenge you at the start. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Hold on. Oh, never mind. I was trying to change the color of my light, and my Bluetooth was off.
Oh, yeah. Now we're definitely in
do
the
that.
metaverse. You do that.
Yeah.
That's some of mine, God, the red light therapy. I saw you bought a red light therapy thing.
I bought a Juve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
finally.
Something
Yeah.
different. You got some aches
was
and
like-
pains. That's how I.
I called out this morning. I was like, Casson. He's like, what? I was like, I bought a Jew. I'm Jewish. I can say that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. No, I bought a Juve. It's like a light therapy thing. What would I change about the world? I'm gonna sound biased, but like I'd just get everyone to use Maxi.
Love that.
I
Use
literally
Maxi.
think it's like an enlightenment tool. Like, Maxi can literally raise your consciousness to a level of peace and happiness, acceptance, and prosperity. Like, I just know that it works. So
Yeah.
I would just do that.
Everyone go buy Maxi.
I have to believe that.
Joinmaxi.com. Is that the website from memory?
Yeah.
How good am I? I still know the fucking website URL. Is there any sort of advice you'd like to bestow these lovely individuals that listen to the podcast, and all the new people that have joined? I appreciate all the new people too.
Particularly on social dynamics, so building
Yeah.
a social circle.
Give it a run. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say focus on raising your consciousness, because that will make you magnetic. When you have awareness, when you have like awareness that you are awareness, that you aren't your thoughts, that you that you are the thing observing your thoughts, when that is like your default setting, you are literally like a firefly in a dark room for most people. Like, people will gravitate toward you and not even know why. It like when you carry the like light of presence, every word you say, people, it just comes with this feeling and this like, you know, people's like motor neurons will like reflect and be like, oh, that person, I should listen to them.
Yeah,
You know?
the energy behind it is something with it.
So read Eckhart Tolle, read some Ram Dass, some Alan Watts, like the spiritual teachings, Tao Te Ching, raise your consciousness.
I love it.
And join Maxi.com.
Join Maxi.com. Thank you very much, Arlin Moore, for your time. I appreciate it, my friend. I'm sure we'll do another one in the future because we've got too much things to talk about on this one. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening, guys. If you want to go on Apple or Spotify and leave a review, I appreciate that. Try to get these reviews up. Try to beat. Arlin, I've got a local buddy that lives in the Gold Coast that I'm trying to beat. He's way ahead of me, but I got to beat him. So I want the whole, the social dynamics crew, the whole of Sample to be able to go back and see if we can start charging the charts on this thing and try to get this popping. So I appreciate your time, Mr. Arlin Moore. And if anyone wants to find you, it's 5 letters on Instagram, and that's all it is. ARLIN. That's it. I wish I had that. I'm fucking jealous that you've got that.
That's it. Yeah, and I'm super active. I will respond. Thank you. Thanks, being man. On. Love you guys. Have a great day. Peace.